So this time on the Brunswick Buzz, I'm speaking with a couple members from the Analytic Vue team. Analytic Vue is a cloud-based platform that has transformed our district's data so that it is clear, transparent, and all in one place. We've been really pleased with this product, and oftentimes on the Brunswick Buzz, I like to highlight companies that we collaborate with, particularly those that are really doing the great work that we want to do here in Brunswick. So I'm going to introduce our three panelists that I have with me today. Tricia Faulkingha, who's our Director of Information Technology, Manos Stefanakos, and Ravi D from Analytic Vue. So Tricia, will you do a quick introduction?
Sure. I'm Tricia Faulkingha. I'm the Director of Educational Technology for the school district. So I oversee all of the software and devices that we use.
Manos?
My name is Manos Stefanakos, and I'm the Chief Data Officer for Analytic Vue.
And Ravi?
Yes, Ravi Devulapalli. I'm the CEO of Analytic Vue.
Thank you so much. So Tricia, I'm going to kind of have you ask us to kick it off, if you will, and how did you find Analytic Vue?
Well, I was fortunate to be at an RTM conference in Boston a couple of years ago, and it was a session that I attended that was about data, MTSS, and things like that. So the session actually wasn't about Analytic Vue. It was about, the use of data and how it was helping support students. But I got a chance to just see the product, and I started from there. So then I reached out to Analytic Vue, and we're always proud to say when we're the very first school district to bring it to the state of Maine, and others have followed. So that's how we've connected to Analytic Vue.
Ravi and Manos, I started off with saying that it was cloud-based platform. It's transformed how we see our data, how we use our data. If I'm wrong in any of these things, let me know. But the other things that I wanted to say is that it's really helped us with transparency. All of our data in one place. It's really visually appealing. I wrote, most importantly, it has been our ability to customize the data to what we wanted to do. So those are three things that I've been really pleased with. And just before I turn it over to you, both of you, oftentimes when we work with large or any type of company that, wants to work with us, it's often like, well, it's a square peg. That's what we got, a square peg. And that's why I say the last one has been, most importantly for us, has been your company's ability to really customize that. So hopefully everything I've said is accurate, but I'd like to hear from the both of you of how did this get started? And maybe just continue to unpack what it is you do. I mean, I've only touched the surface, so.
Ravi, you want to take it?
Sure. Thank you, Philip and Tricia. So Analytic Vue, before we started our platform vision for the school districts, Manos and I and a couple of other partners of ours, we all actually built an SLDS platform called EdFusion, which was at the State Department of Education level. So
including Maine, by the way.
Yeah, Maine was one of our customers. We implemented our EdFusion in Maine. And we had a great success in actually collaborating with the districts within the states and collect all their data and provide a very structured reporting at the state level, and then forward that data back into Federal Department of Education. So that was our background. Over the years, HMH, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, they actually bought us out as a company, as a product. So we all have been working for them for a few years, and then we realized that the vision for the product that we had to carry towards the districts was not the same vision that the corporate had. So after a few years, we all actually regrouped and we quit HMH, and then we started the new product line called Analytic Vue. So as we said, our goal was to bring in the data analytics for the school districts, because we realized that the data that was coming from districts to the state was only used for the reporting purpose, but there was no analytics performed by the states, and it was not given back to the districts in a way that they can really benefit out of it. So that's how the Analytic Vue started. So we are across 7 or 8 different states within the United States currently, and our largest base is in New England states, like including Maine and Massachusetts. And we do have the largest school district that use our platform are all in Georgia. Yeah, company is based out of here. We have between 3 districts in Georgia. We serve close to 110,000 students.
They're county-based.
Exactly. So 2019-20 is when actually the seed has been, I mean, the idea was seeded in our group that we wanted to build a platform. So it took us 2 years to get it into customer base. Basically, the first 2 years were gone because of the COVID. And districts were not ready to do any pilots because they were all overwhelmed with the remote, teaching concepts and learning concepts. So that's why 2 years, the primary years of my design and development of the product actually were done in private. Basically, we could not find any pilot. I mean, finally we got 2 or 3 districts which piloted with us. So today we have 25 school districts, and we keep adding more. And unfortunately, this year has been the slowest year for us, like any of the other ed tech vendors, because of the district budget situations. Many school districts are very conservative in spending their monies. So we are hoping that things will change in the coming months.
That's great. I want to pause there because and give you an opportunity to keep going. But you just said something that really resonates with me, which is the data was used just to report back to the state. That has been one of my issues. Like, we have all this data, but why aren't we using it? And if we do use it, as you just said, it was back to the state and not any further. Manos, did you want to jump in?
So all the things you mentioned that you liked about the product, the transparency, everything in one place, the configurability, are intentional. We're in education a long time as well. And we know that the same way that not all students learn the same way, not all districts work the same. Actually, no 2 districts work the same. So it was very much the plan of how to build something that is functional on its own. So if you like the way it is, you don't have to do anything. So we didn't require everybody to build everything from scratch. But if you need to make changes to it to meet your specific needs, you can. And that goes from the district level down to individual. And I have to commend you all on the concept of transparency, especially because even tomorrow I have a training the district, because part of what we offer is a community of other districts using the same tool, struggling with the same issues about data, how to use it, as you all are. So Tricia has presented in one of those meetings about your public dashboards. You were the first. And so this district tomorrow wants me to train them and explain to them, where do they get the data about the number of sports teams and so on? I think it's important in light of the amount of money that people are spending for them to see what is happening, the number of students, the types of needs the students have. We see things like, the increase in the number of students with special needs that is experienced throughout the country, and the additional costs that districts and tools and resources the districts have to bear.
I want to go back to you made it sound so simple, like you originally built this product so that it was, functional, or maybe it was scalable to any district. But I have to just reiterate, and I feel like it sounds like I'm a sales plug, again, just for transparency. I don't work for these folks. It's a tool we use that I'm impressed with and my team has been impressed with. But how did you scale that up? Because I started this off with, oftentimes we struggle with working with a company that wants to do something with us, but they only can go so far, and they say, this is what we can do. And Tricia probably can answer this a little bit from a district perspective, that I didn't notice that was an issue. You guys were just, we can try that. And you kind of pivoted in that direction. So from a layperson's point of view, it sounds like you did it right from square one, but how do you do that?
So part of it is sort of Ravi's leadership. It's in our DNA that our sort of reflexive response to client request is, we think so. We can try to do that. We look for ways to say yes. Because here's the thing, as I mentioned earlier, we have this community of districts working with us. So if we learn how to do something of value in one place, we can then present it to everybody else. Everybody benefits from it. Whether it's public dashboards, or today I was talking to Tricia about sort of dashboards that look like change over time. How do the kids do at the beginning of the year, and how do those same kids do in the middle and the end of the year with the benchmark assessment? So you can see progress and break it out. Is a particular group being more successful than others? What is it that they have that maybe we can replicate? So it really is part of who we are. And the architecture of the system, for a little technical, is such that the changes many times are not difficult. They're intended to be done through the UI by non-technical people. I've never been a programmer, and so I am somewhat more advanced than most users, but I'm the user type, somebody who understands data, but is not going to program in SQL or XML or whatever else might use these days to do those kinds of things.
Let me put a different perspective on it. You're absolutely right. The scalability of the product, any product, is not that simple. So thanks to the technology, 20 years ago, we never had this opportunity to do this. It's all cloud-based. So the cloud-based architecture allows us to build a platform, not just a product. The product is a single vision, single narrow vision and all that. But here what we did, we brought in a framework into a platform so that we do what we do. And in addition, we can, based on the bandwidth of the district technology teams, we can train them and they can do miracles because everything is, smaller tools within the platform can be used to assemble a lot of different analytics and you can build visualizations on your own. So that's what we did. Our goal was not to control everything. We never wanted to control it. We just wanted it to be as visible and as easy for the end users, the district users, to do things exactly the way we can do it.
And I think the amazing part of all of this is typically when I go into an implementation with a company for various software, whatever new software we're bringing in, we go through an implementation process. Usually that implementation process is going to be like 6 weeks. They're going to go through these steps, they're going to get us up and running, and then we're on our own. With Analytic Vue, we have been together for 1.5 years, and I still meet with them every Tuesday. And anything that's come up, teachers have had a need, we have new data coming in, whatever, I always have the opportunity to check in with them on Tuesdays and we address any issues, any tickets. So that's been like one of the most amazing things that doesn't compare to any other software company. I always have that opportunity to connect with them weekly. So that's just amazing.
I hope our listeners, there's a company out there that wants to work with a school district. This is the model to follow because we're not big. We're 2,500 students. It's brutal when we're working with a company that just will not meet some of our questions or our needs. Let's talk a little bit about the data piece, because I think when I came to Brunswick 5 years ago, data was really not at the forefront of any kind of discussions. It was, frankly, we were just trying to stay together as a district and survive through COVID and whatnot. But through Tricia's leadership and finding you folks, we've been able to, to use that, and we have a public data dashboard and whatnot. But I want to just hear from your folks, like 2 questions. One is, are there things that districts should do with their data? Whether we're doing it or not, that doesn't matter. But are there things that should be done with the data? And then 2, what's the next phase for district? I think, Tricia, and I'll lean on you, we're kind of maybe at the next phase, like we've been working with these folks for a while.
I can start, and then Ravi, you can give your point. With regard to sort of the next step, the next phase, we think that there's 2 things. One, there's still a lot of, I don't know what you'd call it, regular analytics, where we're just using the computers to figure stuff out that we can provide. One of the tasks we've been taking for the summer is try and get together groups of people by function, principal, curriculum leaders, and talk to them more about their individual needs. We have a lot of great dashboards with a lot of great data. Is there something that they need? One, then we'll look at, do we have it? And if not, can we get it? Does it exist someplace else we can export it? Does it need to be collected somehow? And then from our perspective, the next wave is looking at, and Ravi has been sort of our leader on AI as well. What can AI do? I'm probably the most skeptical in the team about or the most cautious, to say, not skeptical, about things like security of the data and safety, things that we obviously 100% have to account for before deploying anything. But we're trying to make the AI do things like interpret the chart. We can make a very beautiful dashboard chart, But if AI can tell somebody what's important, what's different, what they should pay attention to in that chart, that's a next level sort of democratizing the data that sort of traditional technology may not have been able to provide easily. So that's sort of where we're looking at, in that we have all this great data everywhere. And it's the same kinds of data. It's the enrollment, behavior, attendance, various assessments, SCL things. But we're trying to see about adding more qualitative stuff. I see change in performance in a group of students. It would be great to know that you all implemented some kind of program at that time, and that's what impact. What we're looking for is what has succeeded as much as what is going not well. So we can identify that which works, and as much as possible, whether it's traditional calculations or AI, be able to tell you this is what's working, this is what's not. Because then that makes the data much more actionable. If I can tell you that if you do X, you'll have this percentage improvement in student outcomes, that's a wonderful thing to be able to do. Yeah. And that's sort of the path that we're going to.
Yeah, sure. I think you touched on a pretty interesting point about the data. Actually, data is an ocean, no matter which vertical you're working in. Companies, corporates, organizations, individuals, we all collect data on a daily basis. And if we did not start paying attention from day one, that means basically we accumulated so much data and all of a sudden we woke up and say, hey, what am I doing with it? And I think your district has taken a very brave step a year and a half ago to completely reorganize it in one place, because nobody should be logging into multiple applications to get some sense sort of what is happening with a given cohort or a school district or whatever. And the second thing is data. If you look at it, we call it Analytic Vue. The reason why we use that name was that we wanted to really bring out the analytics out of it. So the analytics are 4 types. The basic type is called descriptive, which is like what is that you're seeing? That's basic reporting or charts that we show. And the next one is a diagnostic, which is like what you're seeing is why is it happening? So that's where the human interventions come in, and we try to figure out, okay, hey, I see this happening, but why is it happening? So that's where the diagnostic thing comes out. And then thanks to AI engines today's world, we are using a fantastic technology to understand. The next one is predictive. Okay, is this going to happen again? Or is this something else is going to, what do I expect? That's a predictive. And ultimately what happens is we need call to action. What is the call to action? That is prescription. So we got to bring in the prescriptive analytics into the picture. Thanks to AI again. So Analytic Vue right now, we are working on all 4 of those.
I haven't heard it said so clearly. Descriptive, diagnostic, you said predictive or predictor, and then you had prescription. And I'm going to have to use that because that's a really simple way for someone to really understand whether you're a classroom teacher or principal or director or whatever. When you say it, does it flow? I mean, I'm thinking it's like literally steps. You're
Yes,
descriptive, right?
absolutely.
Am I thinking that linear thinking, that piece? Okay.
And as you just mentioned, the most important thing that is missing today in the world is the data literacy. The data literacy all the way should start from the top down. It's not the bottom up. It can be both, but top down in the sense, if the leadership appreciates how to understand the data, how to read the data, visualize it, and then get some call to actions based on the data that you're looking at, then that's what should be brought down to the classroom level. Because teachers hardly have any time to analyze anything. Whatever they're doing is completely gut-based. And of course, personal relationship with the child in the classroom. But if you bring the data literacy about the data that they have on hand, they don't have to look at it every day, but at least twice a month, if they look at the most important data and the most important where they need to pay their attention to. It's not just a classroom level. You got multiple different roles in the organization, the curriculum directors, assessment directors, and your guidance counselors. Everybody needs data. Everybody needs to understand, hey, what we implemented 3 years ago, we are blindly following it. Is it really helping us or hurting us, or is it?
2 things. One is I love your point about data literacy. I completely agree. I think the other part that I just wanted to talk about from my own leadership perspective, there was a time in my career, I think, when I was afraid of the data because of what it might show? Is it going to get us in trouble? That goes back to our prior conversation about using it for the state. And, I was of the generation of NCLB and et cetera. But so there was that aspect. At some point in my career, I was like, oh my gosh, the data is really important. Let it speak for itself, or if you will, but use it, and then let's improve on it and do that. So that's just a personal story from my perspective of how I've changed from a leadership. But one of the things that I always make a point of when we're talking about partners or companies is confidentiality. And we've talked a little bit about it, but let's just take it head on. And I don't know if Tricia, you want to talk about this, but that's a question that I get from parents all the time.
When we are looking into implementing a new software, the very first thing we have to do is make sure that there's a data privacy agreement. We're fortunate we work with TEC, which is the Education Consortium, and they are working to create the data privacy agreements. If there is an agreement that's already been created, TEC has lawyers that negotiate with the various companies and are very much aware of protecting our data. That's what they do. And so I first go and I see if another school district has already entered into an agreement with them. If they have, then I'm able to just get an Exhibit E that adds us to that data privacy agreement. If the company does not have one, then I put in a request for one, and then the lawyer will reach out to that company and they will work to put an agreement in place. Now, there are some companies that will not come to an agreement, and those are softwares that we don't use. If there's not a data privacy agreement, I will not enter into any contract with a software company because of that. So that's the very first thing I do to ensure that our data is protected. And then the company can talk more about what they do on their end.
Before you folks jump in, I just wanted to reiterate, Tricia, I appreciate your seriousness or your level of taking it to that level. I know we've had teachers that are like, why can't I use X, Y, and Z? This is a great product. And we have had to have those conversations and say, well, here's why. And, overwhelmingly, I think teachers realize that once you talk about like the vulnerability, if you will. But you've had to have those conversations. I know you have. Ravi and Manos, can you talk a little bit what you folks do for confidentiality?
Again, it starts from Ravi's leadership, and it says, your data is your data. It's not ours to do anything we want to do. Even when it comes to asking if we can use it to train our AI model, which is local, which it's going to get too technical, but when it comes to student data privacy, we believe that it's sort of an absolute. The data is hosted on Microsoft Azure because we think it's one, more scalable, but almost as importantly, because we think that Microsoft can respond better, faster to any threat than any downstream thing, which we would be if we're hosted in-house. So by the time they publish something, they've already fixed it on Azure. And uptimes and all the other things that the cloud hosting offers. And then even internally, there's training that our folks have to go through. If I have to download a file in order to review it, it gets deleted off my laptop, so it'll only stay on the secure folders that it exists. We need the login, the password, and a role-based access to it. And it's the same within the product itself. People can only see the data that you want them to be able to see. Again, the platform is flexible so that if you want people to only see certain parts of the platform or about students, you can sort of play with the dials on their access to achieve that kind of privacy.
So what I can add is basically the PII, personally identifiable information, is the most concerned information about any human being being exposed to, because hackers can follow up with you. If they find out your telephone numbers or social security numbers or your home addresses. So those are the key components of any data that's being stored on any product or platform. So we try not to store any of the social security numbers in our platform because we don't need it. No, we don't need to know about that at all. And secondly, all our employees sign the data confidentiality agreements with us as an employer. So we make sure that everybody knows the rules and regulations of what they can and cannot do with the data. And we do not let anybody take the data home. It's always stays on the servers and the computers that are used by its company-owned computers. Nobody is allowed to use their personal computers along the platforms at all.
Yeah.
So we try to cover all our ground to make sure that the data is at most importance to the customers. So it's our number one priority. And as Manos said, Azure is the right platform. Microsoft has been education friendly from the beginning, and they know exactly how to protect the data and all that. So we were Microsoft Gold partners for like 40 years. So we took care of as humanly as possible to keep the data in a confidential and in a privacy mode. But again, as we all know, things do happen.
Yeah.
And we do what we can to protect it within our controls. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad you just ended with that, which is, there are certain things that are just things happen, but we respond as quickly as possible if they do. So I do want our listeners and our, parents and staff, anyone listening, know that we take confidentiality in student data. It's paramount, right? It's like school safety. You're building hard structure safety, right? It's like job one. I go to bed often thinking about like that safety, but now in the past 10 years, I'm now thinking, digital or, that other type of safety as well. Other things that I haven't asked that you wish I had asked, and then I would love to just give you folks an opportunity of like, how do people reach out to you?
I think you asked us sort of what motivated us to do this earlier. And the truth is, we all do it for different reasons. If you ask Ravi, me, our other partners, the lead folks, the developers, every one of us might give you a slightly different answer. But the collective of it is that we found an area where our expertise, however many years, I'm a new kid, the company like 17 years now, our expertise had the opportunity to make a significant difference in people's lives and communities. So that's what drives me. Last night after dinner, came back home to do work to help a neighboring district, we'll say, because they want to publish the strategic plan. And they have 52 metrics, not all numerical, that they want to share. And so I spent the evening thinking of what data would people want to know about making a process better, improving this, that isn't something you would count normally. And it was the most wonderful exercise because it is taking sort of what I do for a living and applying it in a different way to help. But that's generally what we do. We find that expertise can help.
So, but one thing I must say that your district, you are our first customers who have taken the data transparency to the highest level. You have shared the data with your communities by publishing it, making it public. Majority of the school districts do that, but within our customer base of 25 our customers, you were the first one to have taken that step to publish the dashboards and the data, because your data is live. When you're sharing it on a platform like ours, it's live. It's as live as the last night. So that data transparency really brings out, knowingly or unknowingly, you're basically involving the whole community in the education space. So this is what I always talk to about a lot of these leadership people when I meet them in the conferences, that try to show the data for what it is so that parents understand the situation of the child. You cannot solve a problem if you don't see the problem. But when you see the data, especially you're sharing the longitudinal data of the child for however long the child has been in the district, it's a motivational factor, first of all, for the parents to see how the child has grown. And secondly, if he or she is not able to make progress in certain areas, it's time for them to understand and see if they can bring in some additional help. The more involvement from the parents, the better the child performs usually.
I'll get to my last one, which is, how do they get in touch with you? But just to do a little business, isn't this funny? I was looking behind the scenes here. We did and I don't think you probably know this, but we internally and externally, we did a 2025 strategic plan staff survey. So we surveyed our staff And, you know, it's not all, what's the word, unicorns and rainbows, right? I mean, there's some peaks and valleys in that data, but I feel so strongly about it. I've been looking at it most of the day, trying to prepare a presentation to the school board. I'm thinking, and this is out loud, and Tricia's probably like, I didn't even know about this, but I'm thinking that might be another data point that I'm going to want to put there publicly because, you know, there are really some peaks. There's really some cool things that we should celebrate. And then there's other areas where we're going to need to work on. And, you know, myself included, there's some data points that direct my leadership in particular. I know you'll help us do that, and that's very preliminary. I guess I tell that story because I just think it's so valuable for people to see it. The only thing we have to do is improve. Difficult, but with the team that I have, I'm really proud of my team, administrators, directors, principals, teachers, custodian, all bus drivers. I mean, the data that we'll be working on is, I'm really pleased with it. Having said that, love to just give you folks an opportunity, and I'll put this in the bio about, you know, when I post this, but how do they get in touch with, you know, Analytic Vue? What's the easiest way?
I think at analyticvue.com, we would like for them to get there. And we love to publish a lot of blog articles on it. We take the use cases. Brunswick is one of the use cases we publish on our website. And there's a lot to learn. And then there is a free trial and the request demo options on the website, so they can reach out to us very easily.
Thanks to both of you. And really, I have to say this again, thanks to Tricia and her team and other folks behind that work with me.
Thank you so much, Ms. Philip and Tricia. Yeah. We really enjoy our partnership with your district. We learn a lot. And you know, thanks for this opportunity again to be part of your podcast.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Brunswick Buzz. The Brunswick Buzz is available wherever you find your podcast.